Hello and welcome to the FATBOSS Guide to Imperial Vizier Zor'lok, 10-man normal in the Heart of Fear.
Hello.
And this encounter, it's a platform encounter.
Yeah, practically, it's very
Which
nice.
is always fun.
It's lovely.
For this fight, you want to bring one tank. You can bring two tanks in some situations. We'll talk about that in a moment. You want to bring 2 to 3 healers and a mixed DPS makeup. Now to start off, we're going to talk about Phase 1, and in Phase 1 there is 3 platforms as you'll see here, and when you initially pull the boss, the whole room will fill up with gas. If you stand inside this gas, it does do ticking damage and it will silence you, so when you're in this gas you're completely useless.
You're only in this gas when you're running from platform to platform anyway, so it's nothing really to worry about, just make sure you don't go in there with low health.
Now on the pull he will move to a random platform, and each platform gives him individual abilities, and we'll talk about them individually. But before we get into that, we're going to talk about an ability that he does while he's on every single platform, and this is Inhale and Exhale.
Now, Inhale is basically a buff that he gives himself, which stacks up and increases the amount of damage Exhale does by 100%. So basically, Exhale starts hitting harder and harder. However, once Inhale gets to 3 or more stacks, and then he casts an Exhale, all the stacks are gone, so it can never be really above 400% more damage, or even 300%. So it's nothing really too much to worry about, just be aware that it will hurt more. Now, Exhale is, he will select a random target, and he will just do like a beam that does a fuck ton of damage and stuns them. Now, if you put someone in the beam, like in the middle of the beam between the boss and that player, it will remove the stun, and that player will then start taking the damage instead, but it's reduced from the initial damage.
So this is the reason why you might want to bring 2 tanks, because it does do a lot of damage and you might have a few issues with it. If you are having problems with this Exhale mechanic, then do bring a second tank and you'll find it a lot easier.
Now a note to melee, just make sure you're not right under the boss's hitbox, because then if you're exhaled on, how the fuck is the tank supposed to stand in between you and the boss if you're in his hitbox? The boss has a huge hitbox, so you can stand really far away from him and still do melee damage, so just be aware, don't stand too close.
Now, as we did mention, each platform does give other abilities as well as having this sort of shared ability on every single platform. And first we're going to talk about the left platform.
Now on this platform, he does something called Attenuation. Now this just is a channeled caster, you can't interrupt or anything, and it just does a spiraling pattern of sonic rings that deal damage if you stand or get hit by one, and it does do quite a lot of damage, but they're really easy to avoid. You literally just have to run as they it's really easy. Once you do it, it's easy to figure out, and that's the ability that he keeps for that platform, but once he leaves that platform, he then loses that ability.
Now on the right platform, he'll gain an ability called Force and Verve, and this is like a 10-second channel cast that does a lot of fucking damage every second. However, just before he casts this, he'll like spawn noise-cancelling zones, and if you stand inside them, you'll take 40% less damage from Force and Verve. However, you can't have more than 4 people in these zones. If you have more than 4 people in the zones, then you don't get the effect from the zones.
Yeah, you do have like 12 available slots because you have 3 zones and 4 spots, and you only have 10 people in the raid, so it's easy enough to do. You'll easily figure out that it's very, very simple.
And ultimately, if you want to play really safe, just have your tank stand out on it and take 100% of the damage and just pop a cooldown.
Yeah, if you're really shit.
Yeah.
Now on the back platform, the boss gains the ability Convert. This mind controls a player, and it will only drop the mind control when you reduce them to 50% health. Now it's very important that you do this quickly, because they will be slowing and stunning and healing and DPS. It's just a pain in the ass. So it's a very good idea to do a short turn stun on them, or any sort of CC like that, and then get them down to 50% health, in order that they don't debuff you like shit or combust onto you or some shit like that if they're going crazy. So you just got to be very careful with that, and of course don't debuff them too much that they will die once they come out of the mind control, which has happened a couple of times. So just be careful of that. Just knock them down to 50% HP and they come out of the mind control. That's it.
Now the boss is supposed to go from one platform to another platform to another platform every 20% health that he loses. However, this is a little bit wrong. It's not necessarily wrong, but it feels a little bit bugged. Sometimes the boss will stay on a platform longer than you expect him to, which kind of sucks, but there we go, that's how it works. Generally it's because he's casting Inhale and Exhale, and he'll prioritize that over going to a new platform, so that's one thing to keep in mind. But he should switch every 20% or so. When you're moving from platform to platform, you should be using things like speed increases from like druids, anything that will get you over from one platform to another one as quick as you possibly can. Warlock portals are absolutely magnificent for this. However, if you are a tank and you go through these, your threat will be reset. So that's something to keep in mind. Going through Warlock portals will reset your threat.
Now the boss actually has one more spell that he will always cast on any sort of platform. However, only cast it when no one is in melee combat with him. If he manages to complete this cast, you die instantly. Everyone dies. Wonderful. So this should never get off. It's a fucking long cast and you'll only see it for like half a second when you're running to him on another platform. Really unimportant. Just make sure someone gets in melee combat with him. Otherwise, yeah.
Yeah, this mechanic's really here just in preparation for heroic modes. You don't really need to worry about it. But yeah, just make sure you're always within melee range, which you will be. Now, at 40%, regardless of what platform he's on, phase 2 will start. And he'll move into the middle of the room where all the gas is, and he'll eat all the gas up, and everything will be fine.
Now, he does gain a damage increase and a haste increase, both with 10% from the gas, because the gas obviously gives you lots of buffs, which is cool. But the really cool thing about this phase is that he gains each ability from every platform. So he'll be casting Convert, Force and Verve, and Attenuation, all in succession of each other. And then you have to, so you've done all 3 platforms, and then you've got to do them all together, and literally you just do them all together while nuking the boss. It's a good idea here to like start bloodlusting around 20% when the execute mechanics start coming in, so you want to be using stuff like that then, but this phase is all about just moving from everything. It's amazing. I really do like this fight because of this phase.
One thing to note in this phase is that the noise cancelling zones that spawn, if attenuation is happening and these zones are up, if you're standing them, you do actually take less damage from the spiraling rings, as well as taking less damage from the Force of Verve. So if you are really, really bad at moving from the spiraling things, or if you want to just stand there and nuke and get high wall log ranks, you can just stand inside those.
Yeah, it's a very rare situation where you'll have both of them.
You wouldn't really need to do it, but that's a little tip that you might want to try. And dealing with mind control players in this last phase can be a little bit deadly. Like, there are situations where you might accidentally kill the mind control person, and the best way to deal with it is just like slow DPS once you're reaching them towards the 50% health mark, because you don't want to overkill them. You know, if a fire mage gets a dirty pyroblast proc or something like that, you can kill people. People have died through player error in this encounter because of that reason.
But it is still very important that you do get them out of that mind control as soon as possible, especially if they're going to be a bastard and do a raid wide slow or something while you're trying to move from attenuation and force and verve and all this stuff. So
yeah, breaking the mind control is always the priority.
Yeah.
And also in the last phase, he still does his inhale and exhale, so you still need to make sure you're getting in the beam. It's just a load of abilities at once, but it's all the abilities from the other phases, and it's as simple as that.
Yeah. So thank you for watching, guys. If this guide did help you out, then please do give us a thumbs up. It helps us out rather a lot. And make sure to comment, rate, and subscribe.
And if you'd like to see other 10-man normal guides by FATBOSS, please do click up on the annotations you see on your screen now. Thanks for watching.
Yeah, thank you.